You're listening to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast brought to you by Nottinghamshire Live.
Hello, welcome to Garibaldi Red. Nottingham Forest face a massive game in the Premier League on Monday, potentially season-defining one. So we're going to look ahead to that, talk formations, tactics, how we like them to go about it, who's going to play. It's normally Temps who does these with me most often, but he's unavailable today. So Mikey Clarke has kindly stepped in. Mikey, good afternoon. Are you well?
Afternoon, yeah. Upgrade today for the guys, yeah.
You normally say downgrade, people normally say, but yeah.
Yeah, upgrade. I'm great, Matt. Thank you. You're really good. Really looking forward to Monday. Feels absolutely huge. How are you anyway? You good?
I'm all right. We won't say it. I mean, I'll say upgrade to Temps. I heard earlier he was commentating on Notts cricket for BBC Radio Nottingham. I think he knows, less about cricket than he knows about football, which is potentially saying something. But yeah, right. I spent a minute digging out Temps, so we should actually get into this game. I think one of the notes that you sent over to me, and I think I've seen it on Twitter a few times, is the phrase "biggest game since Wembley." Is that how you're seeing it?
It is. Yeah, and I've tried to downplay my views on it, but I'm finding it very, very difficult. I think you get games throughout the season, regardless of what league you're in, that just have that feel of being absolutely ginormous, and this is very much one of them. So regardless of what happened last week at Brentford, the results really, really went for us since then, and it now has the feel of being even bigger, because we're down to the last 4 games, 12 points to play for. Temps, and I'll say something nice about him now. Temps always talks about his roadmap for survival, right? Now, I'm not sure I had one, but if I did, there is no scenario for survival which doesn't include a win on Monday. I'll be brutally honest. That's where my head is. So this game is absolutely bloody ginormous. So if we can somehow get a win from this game, it sets us up really nicely, because if you look at some of the other fixtures that the team around us have got, it's very, or should I say highly conceivable, that we are going to go into the last 3 games of the season, 9 points needed, with our heads clear of water, knowing that one result, even a draw, could be enough to keep us up. So it's massive. And it just has this feel as well, a night game at the City Ground, Monday night, knowing you can get out that bottom 3. It's just huge. And it's against a team where, with all due respect, it's one of them where you're thinking, if we turn up and play to the levels of ability that we have in this squad with this group of players, and I only have to hark back to the last game at Brighton, then it's a game we should really be targeting for winning. And I think it is a must win. I'll be honest with you. I think we have to win this game.
Hello to people in the comments. I don't normally do this, but I'll say hello to people because we got lots of good afternoons. So Jason, Stephen, Peter, Will, Jiminy, not Jim, Tony, Alex, who else? That's about it. Lots of people commenting on the game, agreeing with you basically. I suppose it's interesting because they would have games after against Arsenal and Chelsea and Palace, obviously. But if we don't win this one, you think kind of the psychological blow would be too much to overcome potentially, and it really is all on the line. You can't see them getting a win against Chelsea and a draw against Arsenal or something like that to keep them up then.
No, I can't. I'll just be honest. I can't. So if you remember how we felt, going into 20-5 last Saturday, 1-0 up at Brentford, and then to let that slip and go back to, dropping into the bottom 3. Remember how everybody felt after that. The good thing is results went for us. They really went for us. And now this game becomes even bigger. So I think it is a must-win game on Monday. I think we're getting to the stage of the season now where it's, there's 4 games to go. There is no second chance. We have to go there, stamp our authority on the game on Monday night, win the game, get out that bottom 3. And then, as we've seen in recent weeks, there have been some strange results in this league in recent weeks. Some teams have got absolutely battered. And then you get some results where, Southampton went to Chelsea and won 1-0 a few weeks ago. So it is possible. But I just don't see a scenario where if we don't win on Monday, we can then climb up. I mean, I might be completely wrong. We might get a draw on Monday or lose and then go to Chelsea and turn them over because they're not in great form. But I just think the momentum of winning on Monday will set us up really, really nicely. Now, imagine if we would have got something from the Brentford game, even a point. I think my nerves will be a lot more settled than they are now, because win at Brighton, point at Brentford, I think we turned Southampton over, and I think it's almost job done. But that didn't happen. But luckily, like I said, results really went for us. And it almost feels like we're getting second chance after second chance. Well, we have to take this chance, Matt. There's no turning back. We've got to win on Monday.
We'll talk about how difficult Monday's going to be, because I know we're talking like they have to win, which they do, but it's not going to be easy. There's a few problems that Southampton will pose, so we'll get to that. I'll just look at the other fixtures quickly because they are relevant, and pick your brains on each one. I suppose the main three are obviously now Leicester, Everton, and Leeds. Not so much West Ham, but they could get dragged back into it still. They've got Man United at home based on other results, but primarily the three teams I mentioned there initially. Leicester go to Fulham. Well, I think Leicester can get a result there because they don't have Mitrovic or Pereira. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, I do. And it's strange saying this about a team that was below us before Monday night, but I've never really seen them as to be one that's in trouble. It's always been Leeds and Everton and Southampton and us for me. And the same goes for West Ham. I don't see them being dragged into it, which is a crazy thing to say, really, when you look at the table and there's literally just a handful of games left. But I do think they have winnable, more than winnable games, and I think the weekend's one of them. Fulham on at full strength. I wouldn't be disingenuous to say teams are on the beach. These are professional athletes, and I don't know whether that even exists, but I think it's fair to say that Fulham are safe. They are a very tight group. They've been together for quite a while. They only had one or two players, so I think it will be a tough game. But like I said, I do fancy Leicester to get something there. I fancy Everton to get battered at Brighton, having watched them last night, to be honest with you, and against Wolves, putting 6 past them. So with that in mind, I think Leicester will get out of it. I think Everton are right in the mix. And like I said, a positive result on Monday, heads above water with 9 points to play. And I tell you what, guys, everybody watching and listening to this, if we would have said 3 games to go, we're at that bottom 3, surely we would have all taken that, surely.
And Leeds, obviously, Man City away. I know it's Sam Allardyce who, he's on a par with Guardiola and Klopp and Arteta, as he says, no doubt. I was actually think that was quite clever media tactics to deflect some attention, because if he believes it, then he's deluded. But we can't see them getting anything, can we, at City?
No, no, I don't think so. I think there are City games where I think they might have one of the teams around us. I'm not too sure who it is, but I think that comes in the middle of the Real Madrid double header. So it could be Everton, actually. So that worries me a lot more than the game against Leeds at the weekend. So no, I fancy Man City to do what they always do and turn them over. But I think Sam Allardyce, I really like Big Sam, to be honest with you. You know that, Matt. I think he's a character. I think he'll be targeting their games against who have they got? Tottenham at home, and I think they've got another winnable one. I think
They've got Bournemouth on the last day, haven't they? I think.
Yeah, he'll be targeting them too, and he knows probably 4 points might just about see them safe from them too. So I think that the Man City one, not that you ever chalk a football game off, but if they get anything from that, then fair play to them. But I can't see it, which makes our game even more vital. I know this is a Southampton preview, Matt, but this Chelsea game, it always worries me, because if you look at Lampard's record, I think he's lost something like 11 of his last 12. He's lost 6 on the bounce at Chelsea. It always seems when Forest rock up to these places, we get turned over and that record goes. But let's hope they get beat again, and then we've got a bit of a chance there, because they are a very disjointed outfit, having watched them against Arsenal. And if we set up the way we can set up with that deep block, which I'm not a fan of, but maybe for this game it might work, frustrate their crowd, we could get a point. And like I said, if we win on Monday, a point at Chelsea, blimey, that could just about see us over the line. And that last weekend at Palace, need not be nerve-wracking for everybody involved. So let's say that's the case.
I read the fixtures out wrong there, so forgive me. I'll read out the remaining games for the teams, actually. I think people probably know them all. But Everton have got Brighton away, Man City at home. Very difficult. Wolves away, could be anything. Then Bournemouth at home, which does favour them. But we've seen Bournemouth are a decent side, and they play Chelsea this weekend. So, as Mikey said, a Bournemouth win would be handy there. Leeds, Man City away, Newcastle at home. Very difficult. West Ham away, Tottenham at home. Again, two interesting fixtures. And then we know our fixtures, obviously. Leicester, Fulham away, Liverpool at home, Newcastle away. Difficult. And then West Ham at home on the last day. It's interesting. I dropped off my daughter. I dropped off a friend of my daughter's from Brownies yesterday. And my daughter went in the house, said, I'll be 5 minutes. She was there for 30 minutes. And the point of this story is the dad's a Leicester fan. So we spoke for a good 30 minutes about the relegation battle, and FPL actually, but mostly the relegation battle. And the recurring themes are quite interesting around Leicester, you're saying, throwing away points, individual errors, poor recruitment in the terms of not actually signing enough players, so the opposite of Forest. And I think the point remains that everyone feels pretty resigned and pretty in trouble, don't they? And we're all sort of in the same boat, and it comes down to this big shootout now, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It's weird you say that, actually. I used to live in Leicester, and I still talk to quite a lot of people there, and they are, I'm not saying they're resigned to it, but they are very, very, very nervous. Whereas I look at it, probably because I'm not emotionally attached to that football club, and I still think they'll be okay. But I guess you've got different view when you're right in the mix, and I guess, me being a Forest fan and being emotionally invested with this football club, I not always fear the worst, but you always try to give yourself a bit of a buffer in terms of trying to get out there. So I won't feel safe until it's mathematically impossible for us to get relegated, because I always think we're going to find a way to lose a football game. But with that said, I'm going to be very positive today. With that said, I do see us winning on Monday. I really do. So hark back to that second half at Brighton, when we stepped up 10 yards up the pitch. We went to a back four. I'm sure we'll talk about formations in a minute, Matt. Got on the front foot, pressured them at the right time, and we were by far the better team in that game. And then Brighton go and turn Wolves over 6-0 and then go and beat Man U. So if we can do it to a team of that calibre, and they are a very, very good football team, Brighton, then there's no reason why, if we get the nerves out of the way, the crowd are behind them, we start fast, that we can't turn Southampton over. And it could be a really fruitful bank holiday weekend if the results go for us, because we are in that stage now where we're looking at other results. I hate doing it, but that's where we are. I was very down after the Brentford say capitulation. That's a bit hard. It was actually. That last 10 minutes was horrible. I was very down, but then other results cheered me up, and now I'm at a stage where I'm thinking, this is doable. We can do this. Great positive result on Monday, and everybody's buzzing, and we're thinking positive ahead of 3 tough games to come. And it could just be, Matt, that if we win on Monday, we only need another point. Looking at scenarios and that fixture list for all those teams, there's no gimmies there, is there? When you look at their runnings, there's nowhere where you'd say they are absolutely going to win that football game. So I think potentially 34 could be enough. I certainly think 35 or 36 will, but 34 could be enough, which is incredible, because I think last time I was on here, I was talking about 36 and 37. I don't think it would be that much. Really don't.
No, there's normally one of the promoted teams is absolute fodder, isn't it? That probably low rate, they're gone and the points total becomes different for the teams above them to survive. Obviously, it's been Norwich and Watford, but this year the promoted teams have been really strong, other than Forest, who are obviously struggling. So it's changed the dynamic a bit. I think the key for me on Monday, regardless of formation, and I don't know if you agree, is probably play a higher line, be aggressive, mostly because it might help stop us giving away free kicks near our goal. Because to me, that's Southampton's biggest threat is Ward-Prowse. It only takes one quality delivery or one quality free kick into the top corner, and that creates problems. Because otherwise, I feel quite confident. Is that your big worry about Southampton, just the quality of his right boot?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, he's a wonderful player. Really good footballer. And we don't want to be doing that. I mean, we gave away a free kick on Saturday. Look what happened with 10 minutes to go. So I think that's a really valid point. I touched on it earlier about what I saw in that second half at Brighton when we went to a 4, when we pushed 10 yards higher, won the ball further higher up the pitch. So that second goal from Danilo comes from us winning the ball high up the pitch. And I think when you do that, and when you step onto an opposition, and let's not die wondering here. If there's no second chances here, we're down to 4 games to go. We've got to try and win a football game, and I genuinely think that's the best way of doing it. So I'd like to see us employ a bit more aggressive tactics, push further up, try and win the ball higher up, as much as you said, Matt, to stop them from creating with their most dangerous player. So even if that's at the back of Steve Cooper's mindset and maybe swings him towards going with that approach, I wouldn't be against that whatsoever. I guess the alternative is we go with a 5, play a little bit cagey. You've probably got 2 teams there that aren't bothered about having 30% of the ball. It might be an interesting game, but I really would like to see us take the initiative in this game, in particular, just because of what it means. I mean, Forest ground under the lights on a Monday night is going to be special. You've got to start quick, got to start positive and aggressive, and I think you set yourself up to do that. And I think the best way of doing that is to play 10, 15 yards further up the pitch with a back 4.
Yeah, we'll get into formation options. I mean, I personally don't mind whether it's a 4 or a 5 as much. I just think that line and that attitude is different. I could understand, like, watching that Brighton game, it was in the first half, it was a bit frustrating sitting so deep, but you can understand why when you see the quality of Brighton's passing. Do you remember that game? The one time we did press, they were just straight through us. And obviously we saw against United yesterday, the quality that Brighton have. Southampton are a different team, really. I'd like to think that we could play a slightly more risky game and take it to them, because I think they're gonna come at us, aren't they? It's like, we say we're in the last chance saloon. They really are. I mean, if Forest can get at them and get the lead, then it might break them, hopefully.
You'd like to think so. I mean, I've just been looking at how Southampton have set up in the last couple of games. They've basically played a basic 4-4-2, really. I think they've got Saloon, and is it Alcaraz up front, or Walcott? I think they switched those guys. But it is essentially a 4-4-2. So, we can kind of match them up in midfield, 2-on-2 in midfield, and you can do that with any of the shapes, really, or you could go with a 3. But I do think mentality and confidence plays a huge part in a game like this. It's almost, I don't know, I try and hark back to when we've been in a similar situation. So when we were in the Championship and we were struggling, and we stayed up against Ipswich on that last day, there were a couple of home games before then where we looked a little bit nervous. We sort of sat back and we were waiting for the opposition to almost make a mistake for us to capitalise. And that went to the last day, almost to the last minute, with Blackburn scoring a load of goals in the other game to sort of keep us honest. I really don't want to see that on Monday. I've said it before, let's not die wondering. Let's not worry too much about what Southampton are going to give us, because they are, table tells you this, they are the worst team in the league. And this is Nottingham Forest at home. We've lost once there in about 4 months. We're probably even longer. We are a damn good football team at home, and we've beaten better opposition this season than Southampton. So let's be positive. Let's go there, fans and players and management and staff alike, and say we are going to win this game. We're going to dominate this game, and this is how we're going to do it. Not worry too much about a team that's basically going down. No, I don't want to leave there at 10 o'clock thinking, I just wish we were a little bit more aggressive and on the front foot. Let's go at it from the start. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I'm pretty sure it will. I'm supremely confident for Monday, Matt. And which is not like me at all, is it, really?
No.
Usually not. But I am. I've gone through all the permutations in my head. I've looked at the teams, and I just can't see a way that we're not going to win this game.
Hopefully so. Hope so. As Nick says, if I can put this on, if you are watching, hit the like button, do subscribe. It does help. We get more viewers than we have subscribers for every single video. So if you are a regular viewer, do subscribe and get notifications and help us grow the podcast. There's a comment from Steve-O about, we expect to beat Fulham and Bournemouth at home. True, but we also didn't expect to beat Liverpool or draw with Man City. So I think you just have to take it as horses for courses. And I do think we've still got a good threat at home. Right, we've talked a lot about formations and lineups. So I'll put one up here. This is what we think it will probably be based on what Steve Cooper's done in the last few games. And we'll talk around possible different permutations and personnel. But this is kind of the predicted lineup. So I'll read it out for people who are listening, not watching. Navas in goal, still with a back three, Worrell, Felipe, Niakate, wing-backs, Aurier and Lodi, Danilo, if fit, Mangala making up the midfield, Gibbs-White in behind Johnson and Awoniyi. If that is it, Mikey, would you be gutted or can you still see that team winning?
No, I won't be gutted. I think for those people that listened to, was it Tuesday's podcast with Lewis McGugan, Lewis made some really interesting points that I hadn't considered about the back five and about rigor and routine and what the players are used to, and the fact that if they go 1-0 down, they think, okay, what do we do now? All that sort of stuff. Maybe that I hadn't considered. So I wouldn't be averse to it. It's not the way I would go. Like I said, I would be not ultra aggressive, but I would try and be on the front foot right from the beginning. And I think the best way to do that is with a 4 and then a 3 in midfield and push further up the pitch. That's not to say you can't do it with this team. I think the thing that worries me is you've got 5, maybe 6 defensive-minded players on the pitch at the start of a game, our last probably proper winnable home game that you have to win. I'd just be a little bit more front foot, if I'm honest. Now, like I said, Southampton have played 4-4-2 the last couple of games, give or take. So I can understand having the 3 centre-backs to mark their 2 forwards. That kind of makes sense to me. I suppose it depends on how far we can get Aurier and Lodi up the pitch. If it's going to be a back 5, then no, I wouldn't like it at all. If they are going to play nearer towards the halfway line than to their opposition goal, i.e. making it a 5 in midfield, that would outnumber their 4. So that's where I would be more receptive to that. I think the key, as always, for me, though, is getting Morgan Gibbs-White on the ball wherever he plays. So whether it's as a false 9 on the left of a 3, or sort of picking it up on the half turn and driving forward. I think the more we can get him on the ball, and the more he can be on the half turn and look up and see Johnson and Tyler in front of him as options that he can pass to, the more we have a chance of winning this football game. Because let's not kid ourselves, everybody, he is pretty much the main man at Forest, and most of our good stuff goes through Gibbs-White. I just don't want to see him be negated, and I guess it's a case of what formation can give us the best chance of getting that man on the football where he can influence and dictate the game. So there's arguments for either of these formations. Like I said, I'd go with a 4, but I wouldn't be too disconcerted if we went with a 3, as long as those wing backs played high up the pitch. What about you, Matt?
I totally agree about the wing backs. That was the first thing I was going to say. I don't mind a 3 at the back. It depends to me on a kind of attitude and, like I said earlier, the line that we play and how we do press. And you can't really play Aurier and Lodi deep. Maybe you could make it, this is complicating it, isn't it, a back 4 in possession and get Lodi high up the pitch and things like that. And, we see fullbacks playing different roles time and again now in, in inverted midfields and stuff like that. So I don't think it needs to be set in stone. I think it's about, like you say, getting those 2 wide players high up the pitch and creating a threat and not getting pinned back as a 5 and not sitting too deep. Personally, I think we need to push forwards and take the gains. I mean, you can still do that with a 3. And then, like you say, it's where you win the ball on the pitch and where you get it to Gibbs-White. And Danilo's key for me. We saw that video of him in training, which doesn't mean he's 100% fit, but it means there's a chance he will be. The thing about Danilo to me, Mike, is that like Shelvey probably hindered Gibbs-White because he bypassed him and he didn't have the energy to run beyond. But Danilo's one who can run beyond Gibbs-White and create more space for him, you think?
Yeah, yes, yeah, absolutely. It's hard to visualise a Forest midfield without him in it now, if I'm being honest with you. And that's testament to the lad. What is he, 21, 22?
22.
22, coming over to a different continent where he's never been, doesn't really speak the language. I think he's fitted in brilliantly, and there's no doubt that that's why teams like Arsenal were looking at him a year or two ago. He's obviously got a hell of a lot of talent, and he could be, him and Gibbs White could be the difference in helping us sort of stay up. I think he gives you energy and legs as well. I think where I've been critical at Forest before, and I think somebody's just put this in the comments, where I've been critical is the mobility in midfield compared to some of our opposition that we've played. And I think if you stick a couple of 20-year-old lads in there that will run all day, so much so that the calf tightens up at the end of the game, gives me a lot of optimism. And I think he's going to be a special player. I think we got him on a 6.5-year deal, if I read rightly, which is a really good bit of business, because if there's a couple of ways that can go. If he excels, then there's a chance we kind of move him on for a hell of a lot more money. And if not, then he can sort of grow with us over the years. So I think he's a really good player. I remember seeing his debut. It might have been in the Cup. I was sat near my brother and my mate James, and I said to them, he's a lovely player when he gets his head up on the ball. And I think since then he's just grown into the team. And I also think it's really interesting. Cooper seems to be playing him slightly higher than when. Have you noticed that as well? Because I'm sure in his debut he was getting the ball off the back three. He's not doing that anymore, is he? He's further up the pitch.
No, he was marketed as as a holding midfielder, wasn't he? And his highlights package on YouTube was him picking the ball up deep and driving and playing passes. But I suppose there's two facets to it. Probably one, they might not trust him to play a more disciplined role in the Premier League. And two, like you say, he's got so much energy that he can be a difference maker in attack. Obviously, his one weak point so far has been his finishing, with the exception of that great goal against Brighton. His shooting hasn't been great, but hopefully that goal against Brighton lets him kick on. And obviously we hope he's fit. If he's not fit, I suppose there's the three contenders to replace him, but each have got difficult situations. Ryan Yates, who has played 10 minutes of football in a month, and I can't imagine him being fit to start. Czech Kouyaté, who did really well against Brighton and had a nightmare against Brentford, and Remo Freuler, who has his faults and positives as well. If you had to pick one of those three to start the game, in fact, I'm going to take Yates out of it. I just can't imagine that he is fit to start. But would it be Yates first, and then if not, Kouyaté or Freuler for you?
My heart says Ryan Yates, but the argument you make is very difficult to argue against. I think you probably start with Kouyaté in midfield. I think historically, even when he was, I say, fully fit with inverted commas, he was only doing about an hour anyway. So it seems logical to me that maybe you start with him to try and get a base in the centre of the park, try and win some of those physical battles, wear the opposition down. And then you bring Mr. Ryan Yates on with half an hour to go, who the last time he came on a sub at home was absolutely brilliant and changed the game. So I think it could be what we need. Imagine if the game's tight, maybe one goal in either way, and we bring Ryan on. That automatically gives the home crowd a bit of a boost, gives the players a boost. That's probably the way I'd go. Let's hope the game's done and dusted by 60 minutes, but this is Forest, so that won't happen. But I think if you start with Kouyaté and then go with Yates, I think Freuler is useful, but I think he's lost his place now, and probably quite rightly, just because of the energy that the others give you. I'm a big fan of Mangala as well. I think I said this at the start of the season, and yes, he does have his games where he looks pretty useless, if I'm honest with you, but he does some real good, tidy stuff a lot of the time, and I think his energy and enthusiasm in there could be really, really key alongside Danilo, Gibbs White, and Kouyaté. That is quite formidable, certainly at home anyway.
Yeah, I think what you say is probably right about Kouyaté for an hour and Yates for half an hour. I mean, in an ideal world, you probably switch them around. No disrespect to Kouyaté, but Yates has been the man, and Kouyaté's had his moments. I do feel, as an aside, if we do stay up, to me, that's the one position that needs addressing more than any other. An athletic, powerful central midfielder who's good on the ball above anything and everything, apart from goalkeeper, obviously, because we don't have one. But yeah, that's the big thing for the summer. Right. we need to go because I'm actually doing my day job, and we were restricted to half an hour, and we just about filled that time. So give us some final words, Mikey, to sum up how you're feeling going into it.
Cool. Yep. Couple of quick things. I am feeling supremely confident, and I'll put that down to my mate Pete Blackburn. You know Pete, don't you, Matt?
I do know Pete.
He's in a group with me, and I am quite emotional at times about Forest, as my wife will testify. So when I have a bit of a bad moment, he's the guy that grounds me and says we're still in it. So he's worked on me quite a bit in recent weeks, bless him. So now I'm absolutely seeing things from his level. I think we're going to win on Monday. All I'd say to the crowd, as always, not that they need a G up, because our home form and our home crowd is absolutely magnificent, is we are very much in this fight, guys. Like, honestly, if we would have said this at the start of the season, you know, you win 2 games like your last 4, you stay up. You win 1, maybe draw 1, you stay up. And one of those home games is against bottom of the league. Come on, we'd all take that. So let's hope results go for us at the weekend. Let's hope Everton get thumped at Brighton. And then we can all go to the City Ground knowing we win this. We are smelling safety. We are that close. We're in touching distance. And I think, as always, it might not be easy because this is Forest. So don't expect us to be 2 or 3-0 up after 10 minutes. If it is, believe me, I'll be going incredible and I'll be going insane. It might be tough and it might be sticky, but we'll just we'll pull them through like we always do. And I just hark back to that Brighton second half. That was touch and go. They were a very, very good team, much better than Southampton. And the guys and the team raised their game and blew them away that last half an hour. So if we can do very much similar, I expect 3 points. I expect everybody's going to be walking over Trent Bridge at the end, singing and very happy and knowing we are within touching distance of staying up. So there's my positivity. I told you I was going to be positive today, Matt, didn't I? There you go.
You did. I mean, I do think Forest will win, but I don't think we can underestimate Southampton in terms of it's not going to be a cakewalk. It's going to be a really hard game. I think the fans have got a big role to play. The players have obviously got a big role to play, and I think they have to get on the front foot, as that's the main theme of what we've been talking about. I think is be positive, be aggressive, take the game to them, and then that emotion of the final whistle come like 10 o'clock or whenever it is, that's going to be massive. And I think that will hopefully give us the momentum that other teams don't have. And you know, all the other clubs, they feel less so Leicester because they've changed manager, but Leeds and Everton feeling a bit of a mess, and I hope that can be our advantage. I mean, Leeds have gone from Bielsa to Allardyce in the space of a year, so I might come back and bite me on the arse. And I don't want to mock Big Sam, but it feels like a desperate roll of the dice from them. And hopefully Forest have that unity and that togetherness that can get them over the line, and we can reflect on a job well done, no matter how they get there come the end of the season.
Yeah, right. It's unity, Matt. Honestly, just to add, it's unity, and that's the difference. That's what I see at Forest constantly, and you feel it when you go in the ground. Everybody's pulling in the same direction. So you don't, I watched Leeds the other week. They were shouting, "You're not fit to wear the shirts," booing them off. Everton have issues with their manager. Leicester, if you take away the noise of the clappers, they're not very happy either. So what we have done differently at Forest for numerous years now is we get behind everybody, and it just feels like one last push. And you asked me at the start, is it as big as Wembley? Maybe not as big, but I tell you what, it's close. And if we come out of it with those 3 points, Matt, and we look back on it and say, do you know what, this is the final push. This is where we secured our safety. I really do think that we are so close. And let's hope for 3 points and a great day on Monday.
Hopefully so. Thanks to everyone who's joined with us and commented. Very much appreciated. We shall be back on Tuesday morning to discuss the Southampton game in the company of Gary Birtles, Michael Temple, and potentially another. We'll see how that goes over the weekend. But in the meantime, have a good few days. Try and enjoy the game, and hopefully we're all in a very happy and positive mood when we catch up with you again on Tuesday.